I'm Dan Harris. I'm a beekeeper. If you followed some of my videos, you're familiar with the surroundings here. This is a tree house where I've got some swarm traps. I caught a swarm in one of these traps on May 24th. I believed then that it would be the last one I'd get for the year. Yesterday, June 7th, I saw some scouting activity at this, a noticeable amount of scouting activity at this trap. And then by late yesterday afternoon, there appeared to be foraging activity coming and going. So I'm thinking the May 24th was not the last of the swarms for the season. The last swarm I pulled out here, I had hoped I could take it up to my North Carolina mountain bee yard, as there was still some spring flow left up there. At least I thought there might be, and I thought that they could capitalize on that and potentially be ready to make some sourwood honey in July when the sourwood trees are in bloom up there. But as luck would have it, it was raining and it continued to rain. And the river that I have to cross was over 5.5 feet deep. And you might imagine I wasn't going to drive across a 5.5 foot deep river. So I put that swarm in a hive and moved it to one of my nearby out yards. This one might go to North Carolina. I'm not sure there's enough time for them to get themselves all built up for sourwood, but there might be. There's, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It'll be nip and tuck. Let's see how big it is and get them at least provisioned for the moment so that they can get started establishing the hive, and then we'll see what we got. Little smoke. And, and I could be wrong. It may just be a bunch of bees, random bees that have moved in. It sure is busy. Oh no, it's not random bees. Oh no. Girls. Oh, it feels big. Oh my goodness gracious alive. And they're building comb like there's no tomorrow. Girls. A day late and $1 short, am I not? Story of my life. Oh, where are these beautiful swarms coming from? Oh. Well, all right. Oh, my goodness. The last one, I don't know if I showed you the real inspection that I did on it, but there was a marked queen in it, so I'm pretty confident that came from one of my yards. Not necessarily, but it was very likely that it did. Once again, I spent a lot of time in the last week, 10 days in the yard here, in the hives here, and I have not seen anything to indicate that I had any more swarms in those. Doesn't mean it's the case, it just means I might have overlooked it, so this still might have come from one of mine. But it also may not have. As big as it is, I suspect it came from one of my hives. I find, as I think I've said before, this late in the season, what I get are a lot of secondary swarms, if I get swarms at all. And those secondary swarms tend to be much smaller. And a lot of the unmanaged colonies in the woods, they generally are a season or maybe even 2 seasons old. When they swarm, they don't tend to have a great population either. So there's a good chance it's one of mine. Oh, girls, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. They've made some comb. I'm going to shake these bees back into that box, cut that comb out, I'm going to feed them. You know, hopefully that will at least, you know, I hate doing that. Yes. I know that crazy Dan Harris is a mean man. He is just a mean man. In here bothering all these well-behaved bees. Well, it's not a huge amount. Nice little glob of wax. Another nice little glob of wax. I think what I'm going to do is just leave this right here at the entrance and let the rest of these bees just walk in. I have another cover right over here. Well, we'll see. We'll see where these wind up going. I really need to get up and check those hives in the mountains. I am extracting honey as I speak. Well, not this instant, but I've got a bunch of supers down that I started extracting yesterday, and I'll finish hopefully today. And so there'll be some empty comb I could take up and maybe capitalize if there's any remaining spring flow. We got another roughly 3 weeks or so before the sourwood trees start to bloom up there, so there may still be a little something going on. Certainly more than there is here. Which is another peculiarity when a colony of bees swarms this late in the season. You know, it demonstrates, and I know this is giving human terms to bee behavior, and bees don't have emotions. They're, you know, running on instinct. Good instinct that's been refined over the eons. But a swarm tends to suggest optimism, because without a continuing nectar flow, the possibility of a swarm in the wild surviving is non-existent, absolutely non-existent. And so what we wind up with is bees that can't possibly survive. And the fact that they leave their parent nest, the donor colony, in a big population like that suggests, as I say, some optimism on their part. Not that they're optimistic or not optimistic creatures, but that's the only way I can put that into words that, you know, that makes sense. I think their optimism here is misplaced. This is not a colony of bees that would survive in the wild. It's a big population. They need a lot to eat just to sustain themselves. Got a lot of nest building to do. I just don't think there's going to be that sort of, I just don't think there's going to be enough nectar flow for that to happen. So anyway, we'll figure out what to do with them. The first part of this particular video was taken yesterday. I caught a swarm in this trap on the 7th. I moved some frames in with foundation yesterday, the 8th, recorded that, gave them a half gallon of syrup. Went to the farmer's market this morning, came back, came up to feed them another half gallon, and lo and behold, I think I've got another swarm here. So we're going to pop it, see, and it's entirely possible that I've got 2 swarms now. And this, of course, is after I tell people, you know, the 1st of June really is the end of swarm season. The last season that I caught, or last swarm I caught up here, I was calling a late season swarm. So this is a late season swarm. Oh yes. Yes, oh my goodness. It's probably just got in there today. Definitely a swarm. Oh, people. You know, I'm almost getting tired of this. Let's give them a little puff. Oh, there's a mountain of bees in here too. So for those of you that are keeping track, in the treehouse, swarm traps. The 4 swarm traps have caught so far then this season. This makes swarm number 10. And half and half, 5 and 5, 5 lemongrass oil, 5 swarm commander. Oh, you know, the same thinking prevails that prevailed yesterday. that there really isn't enough difference between them to make me pay an extra $20 to get Swarm Commander. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think it, at least in my instance, it doesn't seem to perform any differently that I can measure, at least not in my controlled study. So there's 2 of them. And originally, I was going to try to take the yesterday's swarm up to the mountains early this week, and that's still got good possibilities because if the river's down right about to the 2-foot level, and if it'll drop down closer to 1.5 feet, I'll ford it, and I'll take one of these up there, and one will go into another yard, and we'll feed the crazy things, and you know, by next year they'll be the one that goes in the mountains if I really look after it, which is going to be tough to do from that distance. But if I'm able to get them going, they might make some sourwood honey. If I want you to look, I don't know if you saw me fill this feeder yesterday, but there's half a gallon in there, and you can see, you know, the amount that they can get to on the ends. It's gone. They've sucked that thing dry. Last swarm that I caught up here, I was feeding them half a gallon a day, and I gave them 2 gallons before I got them out of here, so it took me about 4 or 5 days to get them out. And I'm telling you, they had drawn just about all 10 frames with all 8 new frames of foundation in there in that period of time. So hopefully these 2 guys will do the same thing. These have already eaten a half gallon of syrup. There's the second half of them. First half of this one, I'll just be feeding bees. Anyway, that's got it. Thought you'd find it entertaining. I appreciate you watching.